Yeah, I just wanted to mention something concerning God. Like a question is like, aside from how could a loving God let people starve? I've already answered that twice. So I'm not gonna go through that again. That's just a waste of my time. If you want to see my answer to that, revert back to my other videos. I talk about that in two of them. I think I uploaded both of them. If not, then there's definitely one that I did upload. I'm pretty sure. And if not, then you know comment. And if you're that interested, I'll do a video on it. I think I have but really, a loving God does not let people starve. I'm just gonna let that. I'm just gonna say that right now. People starve because we let people starve. Bottom line. But there's obviously more to it than that. Like I said, go back to my other videos and you'll see what I have to say about that. But another popular question is hang on. Another popular question is um like, in other parts of the world, there's people don't really know Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So like, and this is a good question. And you know what? The, the question about how could a loving God let people starve? Look, these are questions, and smart people answer questions. Society makes you think, if there's such thing as a dumb question. No, the only dumb question is the question that you never ask. That's the dumbest question in the world. I know that doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm. Hang on for a minute. Okay, I'm sorry. That was the only stupid question that exists in this world is the question that you never ask. Because if you never ask it, you'll never get an answer. Really, that's how you learn. So there's no such thing as a dumb question. I hate when people say that that's a stupid question. Look, I fall into that trap sometimes too, because sometimes the questions we ask are so humiliating that we don't even want to ask them. But you know what? If you don't have the answer, then you don't have the answer. Ask, and like I said, don't believe everything that people say either. But because people say a lot of things, and some people are so headstrong that they think they have all the answers, and they come across as convincing, and it's just like, don't take what people say with a grain of salt, man. Really, even myself. Like I say, I come on here, and if I talk about God, the first thing I'm gonna say was what I'm gonna say now. Don't take my word for it. Seek God yourself. Seek the answers yourself. I'm just giving you my opinions. And even when I talk about, like, stuff like when I do my Bible study, I'll come on here and just kind of like make a video just in case it might help somebody out. I don't get a lot of views on my videos, but eventually somebody will come along, and even if I could just help one person, then maybe that one person could help somebody else. But like I said, the most helpful thing I could tell you is when I talk about God, um, you know, see, seek Him for yourself. Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to a pastor or preacher. I don't care. I don't care what humans are just. There's just, when it comes to God, see God. That's it. But as far as the question about how could there's people in this world that have never really heard of Jesus Christ. So one might say, well, if what about those people that are just in far off places, living in the jungle? Or you honestly think that there's no people living in the jungle right now? Of course there are. Of course there are. There's not just monkeys and stuff. There's people living in there too. Somewhere in the jungle, there's somebody living in the jungle, dude. I don't care. I do believe that. And then, not to mention, people just in far out villages, like isolated villages, that just people that just don't know Jesus. So how do these people get saved? In my opinion, um, well, there's actually two answers to that, but they kind of like correlate. You know what I'm saying? The first answer is, these people will not be held accountable for what they don't know. Now, that being said, they still need a relationship with God. They don't know Jesus. They never. Some of these people have never heard of Jesus. So, um, you know, uh, in my opinion, I mean, these people can seek God not knowing Jesus. But you know what? It's not going to change the fact that God is, Jesus is God and God in the flesh. And the only way to get to the Father is through the Son. Like I said, seek God yourself on this one. But, it's like God, the Father took a piece of himself, because God is a spirit. He took a piece of himself. And just read Matthew chapter 2. That should answer a lot of your questions. And then go read Romans, the book of Romans. But yeah, in my opinion, I believe that nobody is excluded from heaven. I just believe people that have never heard of Jesus, and he's not going to hold people accountable that never heard the gospel. But if you live in a country like America or Canada or anywhere like in the continent, Europe, which is a continent obviously that consists of a lot of different little countries or whatever. But if you live in a populated area where the Bible is first of all, it's legal, and second of all, it's accessible. I mean, we walk around all day with our little internet phones, but you could walk into the dollar store. Well, I don't suggest you buy a dollar store Bible, but why not? It is what it is. As long as it's a, stick with the King James version, man. Don't, I mean, these other Bibles, they might be easy to read. I mean, I kind of mess with like the other Bibles myself, but I mean, I always try to match it up with the King James version, man, because you just never know. Like I said, there's a lot of wolves out there in sheep's clothing, and you just never know. So I mean, your spirituality is very important, because that's why we're put here on this planet. We're not put here on this planet just to make a whole bunch of money and then go move to Florida and swing a golf club and then die. We're put here to evolve and have a relationship with God, and hopefully, move on to a better place. As long as we're right with God. But as far as these people go, like in remote places, they're God. I mean, in my opinion, I'm not trying to sit here and speak for God or anything, but in my opinion, I can't see God holding these people accountable for something that they don't know. Now, like I said, if you live in a country where the Bible is accessible and you have internet and you could just go on, on YouTube or whatever, or, you have like God, Jesus and all this, this, you might not know him personally, but you know of him, and you put it this way, the average person in America, knows a whole lot more about, the Bible and Jesus and all, and the cross and all that stuff than somebody that lives in some remote place like the jungle or whatever, But those people can seek God themselves, as long as they're really doing it in spirit. As long as they're not praying to some tree stump or something. I mean, like that's what you call an idol. People, like I said, in religion, like Catholicism, they bow down to statues and they pray, and they'll even look at the crucifix and pray to that, and and they might say, well, I'm praying to that, but I'm really close. I'm really yeah, but you're bowing down to a statue though. You're not bowing down to God. You're sitting there bowing down before a statue, and that's idol worship. You're supposed to pray to God in spirit, because that's what God is. God is a spirit. But these people in like remote places, like I said, I mean, God's not going to hold those people accountable. I don't think he. I mean, why would he? That just wouldn't be fair. So that's my answer to that question. Just because these people don't know Jesus doesn't mean that they can't have a relationship with them, or with him, because they don't have the gospel. They don't have the internet phones to hop on YouTube and watch a sermon or whatever. These things aren't accessible to these people, and God knows this. So he's not going to hold these people, in my opinion, accountable for what they don't know, or what they, for lack of information. Like, these people can have just as good in my opinion, just as good, of a relationship with him as anybody else. If not, probably a whole lot better, actually, because there's no distractions, really. In the jungle, what are you distracted of? Cell phones? Come on, man. You don't have you're living in the jungle. Who are you going to call? Really? Come on, man. You're living in the jungle with a bunch of animals and snakes. There's nobody to talk to. I'm not trying to be stupid. I'm just saying, really. What good is a cell phone when you got a bunch of monkeys running around, man? It just doesn't work that way. So, I mean, if you're in a position like that, I mean, you probably are better off, you probably will have a good relationship with God, but it doesn't change the fact that God is who he is. Just because these people don't know how it works, they don't know about the cross, this and that. God's not going to sit there and shut somebody out who has a genuine heart and genuinely wants to have a relationship with him. You know, I have a hard time believing that. But God will hold people accountable for what they had accessible to them, like people in America. You go to a store right now, you drop a few bucks and buy yourself a Bible, and have a relationship with God, or ask God to get you to that point to have a relationship with him. But people in the jungle, they don't have Bibles, probably. I mean, where are you going to buy a Bible? You can't buy one anywhere. There's no stores. And I'm just saying jungle because that's just a remote place I have in my mind. I mean, there's remote. I mean, you got the mountains. You got I mean, there's people everywhere. There's probably people living underground too. Like really, I mean, there's probably people in places that you never would even expect people to be, like, really. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, we live in America. Well, I live in America. If you're watching me on a cell phone, then I'm sure you live in a country that, obviously has internet, and it's obviously a pretty much, a modern country. You're not swinging from trees eating bananas, man. I mean, really. So God is going to help, God is going to, hold you accountable for that. He is. And, I'm just saying, but the person living in a jungle or the mountains, is probably not going to be held, accountable for what they don't know. But with that being said, those people still have to have a relationship with God, and God will save those people through the cross of Christ. See, if you have a relationship with God, see, the thing is his spirit, which obviously is the Holy Spirit, will come in and dwell you. And the Holy Spirit will, as long as it's the Holy Spirit, will definitely lead you to the truth. It's going to take time and it's a process, but if you stick with it, the Holy Spirit will lead, because the Holy Spirit is truth. That's the Spirit of God, the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of light. There's no darkness whatsoever. That's the Holy Spirit will lead you into truth. So I mean, even the person in the jungle that doesn't even know who Jesus is, I don't know how God is gonna would really relate to that person, but that's what makes God God. God's thoughts and actions are not my thoughts and actions, and they're not your thoughts and actions either. God, that's why God is who he is. To sit here and think that we can wrap our puny little human brains around who God is just pride. Just because God does things that we don't understand. Well, if we understood everything that God did, then that would mean we're God as well. I mean, really, God means one thing. It's just above and beyond comprehension. I mean, God is God. Really, he made the universe. He made the stars, the sun, and everything. He made me. He made you, your parents, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whoever. He made everything. Every leaf that falls down from a tree, he knows about it. He knows your thoughts. He knows my thoughts. How are you really going to sit there and wrap your limited, understanding around something so, like, just out of the box crazy? Like, come on, man. I mean, something that big, there's not a box big enough to sit there and shove God into. You're just not going to do it. So just some things you just have to take, I don't know, kind of like what I'm doing now. But I have a hard time believing that, a loving God, would sit there, and because I know that the Holy Spirit will lead somebody into truth. So as long as the person is genuinely seeking after God and having a relationship with him, he will be led to the truth, which, he will be saved. And look, I'm not saying that you don't need the Bible. Like, of course you need the Bible. You really, really do. And if you have access to it, you need to read it. But somebody like that in the jungle, God will, in my opinion, God will, he will treat that person accordingly, considering their circumstances. That, well, there's you can't really run to a bookstore. There's no bookstore in the jungle. There's no, you can't go on YouTube. There's no YouTube in the jungle that I'm aware of. I mean, really. So that's just my opinion. I just wanted to say that because I know a lot of people have that question. And that's a good question. And the question about how could a loving God starve, or let people starve, that's a good question too, but I've answered that as well. Go back and watch my other videos.